Well, hello and welcome to another episode of More Perfect Marketing. I'm David Baer. I was thinking a couple of minutes ago, as today's guests and I were sort of getting ready to hit record and lay down some exciting content for you, about a story that one of the consulting clients, an owner of a winery here in Oregon, shared with me once. And it was after we had completed a good year's worth of marketing and marketing strategy consulting work with her. And she was talking about what that experience was like and what it meant to her. And she said a few things that kind of were a little unexpected. She was talking about the fact that not only did we dial in the marketing, which was kind of what people think I do for a living, but how we really shifted her understanding of two things. One, how to be a business owner and how to be a better business owner at that. And two, what being a business owner meant to her personally and how the ownership of a business affected the way that she lives and operates in a personal realm. And I think that's very much at the core of what we're going to end up talking about today with our guest, Brad Martineau. Brad is you call yourself the chief baller, which I love. But I know you as the guy who was probably one of the very first to show up on videos and in pictures wearing those flat brimmed hats. And I learned we have something else in common when I was doing my research. You like to iron things as much as I do.
I
So
do. I have calmed down a little bit in the ironing, but yes, I do not do it's either iron or it's like that's got to go back into the dryer or something because I don't do wrinkles. Not at all.
I totally appreciate that. So Brad, welcome to the show, and I wonder if maybe you can give us a quick little background on where you came from, because where you are and where you're going are where we're going to spend most of our time today.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So briefly, very quick, I like to give the personal side. So born and raised in Arizona, 6 to 10 kids, been married for 23 years, same girl. I got 5 kids. I know how it works. I like to try to get the jokes out of the way when I tell people the backstory. I got one son-in-law, grandkid on the way, granddaughter on the way. Love basketball, love flat brim hats. And just as a quick aside, so I still remember when I decided to wear a hat, I was debating, do I wear the hat? Do I not wear the hat? And this was early on in my timeline. And there were a couple of people there, and a couple of guys that I was talking with, just kind of shooting the breeze of this event, and they're like, "I'll pay you." There was like they basically they challenged me to wear the hat, and I was like, "All right, screw it, I'm wearing a hat," and then it just stuck, and it stayed ever since. Since then. So my story, professionally speaking, career-wise or whatever, I was the sixth employee at Keep back in the day when it used to be called Infusionsoft. So I was there I was just looking at it in June. It was June of 2004, so 20 years ago. Started at Keep. I was their support team because they were a small team. There were 6 of us. And then from there, I hired some people into the support team. And then I went into implementation. And I guess for anyone that doesn't understand or know Keep, I guess we should put it's Keep, Active Campaign, High Level, all of those automated CRM tools. Keep was the first one back when it was called Infusionsoft. And so I kind of went through the different roles at that company. And that really is what introduced me to two things: entrepreneurship and software and systems. And I fell in love with both of them right away. So I was there for probably 8 years. We grew to, I think it was like 150 employees. They hit a rough spot and they had to do a round of layoffs. And I got included in that round of layoffs. Little side note that makes it kind of more fun is the 3 co-founders of Keep/Infusionsoft are, 2 of them are my brothers, and then another one's my brother-in-law. So I got a call from my brothers at like 2:30 in the morning. And they came over and they fired me. I tell people I got fired by my brothers because it makes it sound more dramatic, but I just got laid off. And then I was like, crap, I don't know what to do. My 5th child had been born 6 weeks earlier. So I had 5 kids under the age of 8. I'm looking around at like job postings because I wasn't like, I got introduced to entrepreneurship. I was not an entrepreneur yet. I had all the DNA. I've since realized I had all the DNA, but I was not ready. So I'm like, I got to go find a job to make enough money to pay for this. And I was like, well, there's nothing out there that's going to do what I needed to do. So I guess I'm now going to start a business helping people with Infusionsoft. So started that. I was doing some like solo, like contract type projects. And it took me about maybe 2 months to be like, that's not what I'm looking for. I want to be a part of a team and I want to be building something. So I I got connected with another guy that used to work at Keep. We started 6th Division, which is the primary company we run right now. And our whole goal was make automation with CRM, with Keep, with all those tools, just make it easy so anybody can do it. Like figure out how to demystify all that stuff. So we ran that company. We did 7 figures in our first year, scaled out to multiple 7 figures. In the middle of that, we recognized that people wanted some more stuff. So we actually spun out a software company called Plus This, scaled that thing up to multiple 7 figures. And now my sort of entrepreneurial domain, I guess, is 6th Division. We do coaching to help you build a business that gets better results in less time. And then on the Plus This side, we're starting to identify additional tools that we can launch and that we can build that are outside of like the initial, Plus This tool set. So that is the timeline of how we got to here.
I love it. And there's a lot of nuance to all of those elements of what you've done.
That makes it sound like a really phenomenal rise. And there's a whole lot of up and then way down and then up and down. We could talk about the times that I almost ran all of those businesses into the ground. So just so we're clear, that makes it sound really good, but that's a lot of nuance.
But the reason I mention the nuance is because I think a part of what you're focusing on these days is the people in the business and the challenges of working through a lot of the things that get thrown at us as business owners. And
100%.
That's really, back to the story I shared at the beginning. We often don't think about the fact that we're operating in an environment that isn't always black and white. And you have, helped people through the process of automating and supporting some of those activities in their business. But then there's the additional support and guidance and simplification of some of the other aspects of reality that occur in business. And so I wonder how you came to where you are now, and perhaps before you get there, we should talk about where you are now.
Yeah, we can definitely start there. So the basic summary, like on the 6th Division side, which is where we do our coaching, our training, our education, we work with people one-on-one. The primary bread and butter is like you're talking about. It's like if you have Keep, Active Campaign, High Level, any of those tools, HubSpot, whatever, and it's like this is just all like I don't even like it's not working the way I want it to. Then a lot of what we do is we help with that. And as we started to do that, and when I say that, what I mean is as I was trying to run and manage my business, 6th Division, and then the software company Plus This, and then the other software companies we've spun up, while also being a high school basketball coach, while also being married, still married for those 23 years, while also raising 5 kids, while also planning a wedding, like all of the things that go on. And I like to play basketball myself. So like all these things, it was like, all right, we need some structure and organization to this. And it's not just the client journey. Like there are other things that have to be addressed outside of that. And my brain, the reason why I fell in love with systems and software back when I was at Keep in the early days is because my brain is like systematic. If I've got to do something more than once, there's a system to make it take less time. That's what I'm looking for, is how do I organize it? And what I recognize is there's 2 things that are critical in order for you to pull this off. Number one, you have to organize how you think. So in the same way in your story, how the client came back and said, oh, well, you changed, like, yeah, we did some marketing stuff, but you changed what I thought it was to be an entrepreneur, and then how that makes me show up in my personal life. Probably the most common thing that we get from our clients is they say, you changed how I think. You organized how I think about what I'm doing in my business. So the first thing is, if you don't want to be overwhelmed and you want to be able to make really good progress in way less time, you can't be overwhelmed by all the different pieces that get thrown at you. And it doesn't mean you ignore the pieces. You can't. Like as soon as you start playing the game of business, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you just signed up for. You've got to have a framework for how you think about it, so your thinking's organized. Once your thinking's organized, then it's just a matter of what's the best tool, process, or system to execute on what needs to be executed on. So those are the 2 main pieces that have led to really what we're trying to work on now. And the brand that I sort of put around it, which is you got at the core of this is the client journey and technology and automation. And if you zoom out a little bit and you consider all the elements of the business, I like to put brand names on stuff. So we call it building a smooth scaling business. So it scales and gets you the results that you want, but it's smooth, so it doesn't require that you sacrifice your soul in order to make it happen. And so that is the primary thing that we're working on is for entrepreneurs, how do you build a smooth scaling business?
So I want to ask about one other trademark name that you have included in that, and that's this concept of maximizing life profit. And I wonder if you can explain that as well.
Yeah, so So the whole goal of why we would start a business is so that we can then go do whatever it is that we want to do in our life. And again, I like to put brand names on stuff because it makes it more memorable and it makes people stop and pay attention, myself included. Like I really do it for myself, and then I share it where it can be valuable. So the idea of life profit is, I believe in life, you only have three currencies. You have time, energy, and money. So time is how much actual time you have to spend doing something. Energy is what are you spending your time doing? And then money is you got to have money. It's a currency. So every day we wake up and we choose to spend one of those three currencies and hope that we're going to get one of those three currencies back. And it might be that we trade money for money. It might be that we trade money for time. We might trade money for energy. We might trade energy for money, right? It can be any combination of those. And ultimate success in life, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, or business, whatever, ultimate success in life, I believe, is that you have a profitable life across all of those currencies. So I want to build a life that serves what I want. And so I've got to maximize my life profit. And a lot of times what people do is when they start a business, they're not clear on the profit that they want out of the business across all three of those currencies. And then they end up building a business. We have a phrase or a saying we like to use, which is like, you want to build the business that you want, not the one that you wake up one day and unfortunately have. And so we have a document. I actually have, you probably saw the video on the YouTube channel. I've got a video where I walk through how to define the return. So you're really clear on the life profit you want. And then you architect a business and design a business that will deliver that to you. And you don't get distracted by all the gurus or all the amazing people that are doing the $100 million business or the $10 million business. If that fits into your return, great, go for it. If it doesn't, stop beating yourself up and wasting your currency chasing after something that you don't actually care about.
Yeah, I love it because it really reflects reality for most business owners, and the fact that you're taking time to A, acknowledge that, and then B, figure out how do you help a business owner think through this process and put some form of a plan in place or framework around thinking through it, to realize, this is a good way to spend my time. This is something that's not really helping me accomplish what I really want in the end, and actually even thinking about what do I want in the end to begin with.
Yeah, and yeah, and I don't. The beauty of it, like, I don't really care what it is that you want, and I believe that really figuring that out is it's a discovery process. I don't think anybody knows what they want. So whenever I like coach people through filling out this document, we'll get to like money, and they'll be like, I want to make $1 million. I'm like, well, I know that's bull crap, because there's no way you did a personal budget where it magically rounded perfectly to $1 million. So why? Like, let's actually get in and explore why. And then it's this process of, I set the target across the currencies, time, energy, money. I try to go pursue it. And then as I get it, I've got to stop and be like, is this what I actually wanted? Or now that I'm here, is this actually not what I thought is it not what I thought it was going to be? And then I'll grow and change. And maybe then I elevate it for my next level or whatever. Or maybe I get there and I'm like, well, this is dumb. I thought I wanted to work an hour a day, and now I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs and I'm like anxious and I'm annoyed and I'm bugged. Now that might mean you need to do some personal growth, but it might also mean that you actually like to work, and it's okay if you like to work and get stuff done. By the way, that's me. I'm not a 1 hour a day. I like to do work, but I also want to build a business where I don't have to work 10 or even 8 hours of like in the office grinding the whole time. So it's a matter of really getting to where figuring out what it is that works for you, so then you can architect a business around it.
Yeah. And you've reinforced something that I believe to be true, and we've built into our consulting process, which is to double check every once in a while when you make some decisions. Does this fit with what I decided earlier? And I think that, the fact that you bring that up, I think, is really important.
Yeah, that's the L in dollar, the learn back. Oh, sorry, wrong side. That's the learn back here. Is like, you should stop and pay attention to what life's telling you, because you might have been wrong, by the way. Just like it's a possibility that you could have been wrong in your initial decision. So
I wonder if you can sort of dimensionalize this a little bit. We understand the idea, hopefully, around automation of marketing activities and some of the things that you might do with the software that we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
What are the types of things that you're looking at when you're adding systems to other elements of a business?
Yeah, for sure. So the way I think about this is I think in terms of children's movies and children's toys, because that's been what most of my life has been. So Lego, we have a thing we teach called the Lego principle. Lego figured something out. When you buy a Lego set, let's say you buy a 1,000-piece Lego set, you open up the box and you dump it out. What comes out?
Uh,
Most people say pieces. It's
I was
not
going to say
pieces.
those bags
Yeah,
of
the
like
bag,
sections of, yeah.
the bags come out. So this is the underlying concept behind organizing your thinking is anytime you look at anything, you have to be able to break it down into the bags that make it up. Okay, so that's the underlying idea. So when I look at a business, if a business is the Lego set, and I'm looking at the bags, there are essentially four main things that I'm looking at. There are four main bags that I see. At the very, very base is you as the entrepreneur and the leader of this organization. And there's a whole bunch of stuff we can talk about inside that because you are on a never-ending quest for personal growth as soon as you decide to be an entrepreneur, period. There's no way around it. Unless you don't grow and then your business goes out of business, but that's a whole separate story. Up on top of that, if I'm like building a wall here, so you got you as the foundation, the next layer up is your vision. And so I'll go through the four and then I'll kind of break them down a little bit. So it's you, and then you have to be able to document and articulate your vision. This is a combination of what we talked about. It's the return. What do you actually want? What's the plan to get it? What's the team look like? On top of that, you have the actual team that you're going to hire. So it's the people that you're working with, making sure you have the ones you want to work with, making sure you've got like an operational rhythm down. We call it a clockwork cadence. And then at the very top is where you go to get clients. So that's your client journey. So those four elements are at the foundation of every business is who's the leader, the entrepreneur. Top of that is what's the vision for this business? What is its job to produce back to the owner? And then do we have a plan of actually how we're going to get there? On top of that is the team. Who is filling the roles and doing the work that has to be done? And then all of that is like what would be underneath the ground as the foundation for what everybody else can see, which is what are you doing to get clients and how are you delivering for your clients? Mm. So the first sort of set of Lego bags are those four. And then really it's like Russian nesting dolls meet Lego bags, because then you have to go into a Lego bag and then you start the whole process over again, which is if I'm looking at vision and my plan, well, what makes that up? And what are the different buckets to make it up? So at initial level, those are it's you, your vision, your team, and then how you're getting clients.
You can tell that you like systems because you've really structured that beautifully. Just a quick aside, you have naming conventions for like a lot of these things, or
I have naming conventions for every single one of them. So if you want the naming convention, it's inside strength is you. You already have everything you need. You just got to unlock it. So inside strength, vision, you need a tactical vision. Vision, it's exciting. It gives people warm fuzzies because they're excited. Tactical, it's actually viable and it has a plan behind it. Team, you want to build an A-player factory. It brings in and creates A players. It keeps them to be A players. And then the client journey side is you want to build a happy client factory. Get you clients, makes them happy, runs like a factory.
Yeah. The reason I bring this up is because there's something that's proprietary about those terms that you have invented, and therefore, even if and a lot of what you've described there is very much unique to what you do, but you can separate it from what anybody else out there is doing simply because you've put a name around it and using that name and reinforcing it. And so just a quick valuable, business lesson there in terms of taking something that could be quite generic and creating a custom framework around it simply by giving it a name.
Yeah, and the reality is like how many new ideas get like actual new ideas get created. Like for most people, especially if we're in like an agency world, right? Like you're talking about business. Business has been business, will continue to be business forever. So really what you're bringing to the table, and I'm really clear, like I didn't make any of that up. There were always employees. There was always a plan. There were always entrepreneurs. There's always clients. I just came up with terms that capture how I look at it, which is what makes it unique to me. And the benefit, like you said, is it makes it unique. You get some proprietariness out of it. And when you can come up with terms like that, that capture in the person's, not capture, creates in the person's mind, like, oh, I want one of those. Like Happy Client Factory, like I'll take one of those. Sign me up. Where do I buy one of those and put it into place? Or A Player Factory. So it's a really good lesson to be thinking about when I have major core elements of what I do that I'm trying to get people to understand and then also want. If you can come up with a really good branded term for it, it works wonders.
You said I think before we hit record that there's sort of steps before you get to the point of consideration of scaling. And I wonder, if you can talk a little bit about the idea of entering into this smooth scaling process that you're teaching, where it fits, where it's premature, where it's absolutely key to somebody based on the situation that they might be in.
Yeah, 100%. So for me, the smooth scaling, there's like the smooth scaling framework, which is what I just talked about with those four different parts. And then there's the timeline. And so the smooth scaling timeline it really covers the entirety of the timeline of a business. It's more about identifying which of those Lego bags should I be focused on at which point. Because the biggest place where I see people get derailed is that they're trying to be too big, too fast, or they're trying to attack things that they don't need to attack yet because they haven't actually even earned the right to have that problem. Our businesses, one of those cycles that I mentioned earlier about how I almost ran my business on the ground, I came up with this analogy. It was really stressful. I'll spare you all the sob story, but if you've ever felt like that, trust me, I have too. And I had this analogy hit me one day, and it was that I was walking around wearing a double XL t-shirt, except I actually fit into like a medium. And what I was trying to do in my business is I was doing the equivalent of trying to go to the gym and eat 10,000 calories a day or I'm doing the rocks diet, and I'm trying to go to the gym 4 times a day so that I can get big and I can fit into this double XL t-shirt or this XL t-shirt. And the reality is there's another option. It's called just go get a medium-sized t-shirt and then it fits right away. And in that particular business, in the course of 90 days, we went from $250,000 a month in expenses and we trimmed it back down to 86.6. And it was like, immediately it fit. Like it was one of the hardest decisions to make, but immediately it was like, oh, we're back where we're supposed to be. Now we can rebuild back from here and not be trying to carry this extra weight, right? It's like if you're driving and you're in 4th gear and you're going 5 miles an hour, you should probably put it back down to 1st gear and then work your way back up. So I look at this as I see kind of like 4 main phases that people will go through. And then the 5th phase is you just pick which of the 4 you're going to use to keep leveraging and growing. So the first phase I call is prove it. And in the prove it phase, this is like, I have an idea, but I have no revenue. And really, generally speaking, for like the more servicey type business agencies, it's probably like 0 to 120 grand, 100 grand, 150 grand, somewhere in that like $10,000 to $15,000 a month. You have to prove you have something worth scaling. So we do not, like, you should not be spending any time thinking about culture, hiring, et cetera, et cetera. You do not need to be spending any time thinking about how do I get this automation tool to do some fancy whatever. No, you need to just grind and hustle and prove that the thing that you are going to go try to sell to the marketplace, that you can get in front of people's eyeballs, you can get them to give you money, and then you can make them relatively happy. And that as you continue to do that, it starts to line up to the return, like the vision you had of what you wanted to get. You're basically proving that there's something here. Mm-hmm. So at the end of it, you should be like, okay, I got something here. And that has to be backed by actual consistency of sales and smiles. So if you don't have consistency, like it doesn't work if you're like, oh yeah, I made 100 grand, but I did it in 2 months and then nothing else happened. No, you got to have like consistency of sales month after month. And I don't mean for, like, if you do it for 90 days, and you've got like leads coming in, every month, and you're closing somebody down every week or so, and you're getting it going like, okay, I've got a rhythm. Now you've proven it. And that it has to be something that's not this like custom work of art every single time. There's got to be some like repeatability to it. So that's the prove it phase. If you want to have a smooth scaling business, that's the first phase. Focus on defining the thing and then proving that you can get in front of eyes, you can take money, and you can deliver smiles, and don't get distracted by fancy funnels, fancy automation software, team building, whatever. Just go prove that you can do that.
You said something in there that I want to make sure that we circle back on for folks who are not well educated in the space that you and I exist in. The smiles piece. Why is that so important?
Because it's the lifeblood of your business. Like what I like to say is, if you take people's money but you don't make people happy, meaning you don't deliver value, you're a fraud. If you make people happy, but you don't make any money because you don't take it, then you're a charity. We're running a business. So we're like in the middle. That's where you want to be. And you cannot outrun, I don't care how good your sales and marketing is, you'll never outrun a crappy client experience or delivering crappy value for your clients. You'll never outrun it. It will catch up and bite you in the butt. So we're going to talk about that in the next piece, because that's the next phase. We got to make sure we get that dialed in. But the most important thing in your business is what happens after somebody buys to the point that they're happy. Like that's it. It's the most important piece. Now, it doesn't mean that that's where you spend all of your time, but that's like the foundation because your whole business is geared to get people to buy a thing so you can solve a problem for them and make them happy. And if you can't do that, you're not really in business.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Now,
Okay.
now I'll let you move forward to the next part.
Okay. So prove it. Now that we're at the end of prove it, our revenues are at least 100 grand, 120 grand a year, whatever, somewhere in there on the low end. It could be higher depending on whatever your model is, right? You're at that point, you're consistently producing leads, you're consistently closing, and you've got something where it's like, okay, I know what I'm selling now. And it's not like I custom craft a quote amazing like for every single person, right? Now we move into a phase I call streamline it. And streamline it is, if we look at the client journey essentially is I got to go get in front of people's eyeballs. I want to turn them into, leads, emails on my email list. I want to turn them into sales conversations. I want to get them to give me money, and then I want to make them happy, right? So those are like the main phases. We're going to ignore, now you don't stop doing this, but we're not trying to get really fancy at this point with how I get in front of people's eyeballs and like my lead funnels and all that. We're not worried about that. What we're worried about is I want to make my conversion and delivery machine run like clockwork. So we're going to look at your sales process. We're going to look at your delivery and fulfillment process after somebody buys. So literally just on either side of when somebody gives you money, we talk about like you start closest to the dollar sign. And we are going to go look at software. We're going to look at systems. We're going to look at the experience. And we're going to make that thing world-class so that when you put people into the sales process, you're like, that thing freaking dialed. It's like locked in. And when somebody buys, you're like, it's going to be amazing. They're going to love it. And we're going to create amazing value. So the next phase is we're not looking at the fancy funnels that the gurus teach. We're ignoring all the Instagram things that pop up on your feed about how you just do this real one quick funnel and then you're going to be loaded up with sales calls. You don't want to be loaded up with sales calls if your sales process is broken. And you don't want to be closing a ton of people if you can't handle them on the back end. So we ignore that distraction. Same thing. You're going to hear people talk about how important your team is or whatever. And in the middle of this, you're going to start to feel some weight as you continue to grow because you never get to stop marketing and selling. As you continue to grow, it's going to start to push your bandwidth and capacity a little bit. And you're going to be tempted to say, I need to go hire people out because I don't want to do this. And there's more important things that I can do as an entrepreneur. And you're going to not listen to that. Otherwise, you're going to unnecessarily spend a stupid amount of money. Ask me how I know. Okay. So like I've been down this before. So the next one is streamline it. And what we want to know is that as soon as somebody raises their hand and says, hey, I want to talk to you, that process is dialed. And as soon as they give you money, that process is dialed. When the delivery process is dialed, you'll sell with way more confidence than when it's not. And once we get those two done, then it tees us up for the next phase, which is the market it phase. So anyway, before we jump into that, so that's streamline it. That's like the next phase. That's where you want to focus.
I'm good there.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a pause in case you wanted to insert something. I was just doing a quick temperature check.
No, appreciate that. But no, I'm eager to hear the next part.
Okay, so the next one I call market it. You could call it advertise it or whatever. Now what we have is we have a proven we have a thing that's proven and a vision that's proven. And I didn't mention this in Streamline it, but once you prove it, the whole time, like you said, you're checking back in. So as we're streamlining it, we're checking back in and be like, okay, we're still on track, right? Like if I actually make this business run the way that I want, I'll still actually get what I want, right? So we're doing like a check. So once we've streamlined it, now what we want to do is we want to open up the floodgates on filling that mechanism we just created to convert and then deliver. So this is where you will start looking at funnels. Mm-hmm. This is where you will start looking at maybe you start doing more podcasting. Maybe you start doing more content. Maybe you start getting into Facebook ads. Maybe you like whatever it is. Now we're looking at what are all the ways that I can get in front of people's eyeballs, start to create an email list because you may not necessarily need to do like just pure lead capture in the streamline phase. So like I might start to create an email list where I'm going to start to do email marketing and I'm going to let people take 9 months to convert. I'm going to start to do all those marketing type activities so that I can build this machine that fills my sales funnel, meaning like where I actually close people down, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the market it phase. And again, at that point, so at this point, you're going to feel even more like, okay, I need more people. And I should clarify, you may hire some people like you may have already hired people at these phases. I'm not saying you don't hire anybody. I'm saying it's not your focus. You don't need to go spend money on somebody's culture program. You don't need to go worry about doing this big old long exercise about how to define your values or whatever. Like we're doing the simplest amount there because that's not the priority yet. Mm-hmm. We just need good people in there to make it work. So the market at phase is about, I'm going to hold off as much as I can before I worry about team. so I can start to put in place this infrastructure of how we're going to get leads and turn leads into sales conversations and how we're going to get in front of eyeballs. And I wanted to have it be documented. I wanted it to be systematic. I wanted it to be organized. Like this is like the happy client factory piece. I want it to run like clockwork.
Yeah.
So that's the market it phase. So streamline it and market it, or where you really dial in your client journey, which we would call the happy client factory. But between those two stages, you're dialing those pieces in.
And so these are all, each is a foundation that has to be developed before you can really graduate to tinkering with and developing the next one, was what it
if you want a smooth scaling business. So, I mean, you can still do them. I'm in business and I did not do this the first couple of times around. And what it is it means I'm like, I literally am just leaking my currency, time, energy, money. It's chaotic. It's a pain in the butt. This is just a systematic approach. Think like sniper rifle rather than machine gun. Like picking off the next thing to do. So yeah, this very much is, it builds on itself as it goes. So we got prove it, streamline it, market it, and then the fourth phase is delegate it. And now what we're doing is our entire focus, everything else should be running. You're monitoring it, maintaining it and everything. But now the goal is to systematically remove yourself starting at the frontline position. So if you're still doing sales calls, you're going to find somebody else to do sales calls. And then you're going to work with them. You know, they're going to come listen to you do it. And then you're going to work with them. And then you're going to step out and you're going to go frontline first. So sales call, actual fulfillment or implementation or whatever the frontline on the delivery side might be, even on the marketing side. Then you're going to go up, and depending on how big your business gets, you'll be managers, and then you're going to go replace yourself as the manager. So delegate it is where culture matters. It's where you get really clear on the type of company that you want to build. You've got a business so far. Now we're talking about building a company. So we've got to define that the company has its own set of values, its own set of belief systems, and really they're yours, but now it's not good enough for you just to share it. It's got to be documented so that other people can connect to it. So delegated is about systematically removing yourself from whatever part of the business you don't want to be involved in. Because remember, in the vision, you will have said, this is what I want to do. Time, energy, money. These are the types of things I want to do. So carve out the perfect role that you want. One of my buddies, Taki, he's like, your business should fit you like a glove. So at this point, as we define who we're going to hire, we're defining it so that you get to do exactly what you love to do. And everybody else, you'll hire people that love to do all the other pieces. And then your business runs. So delegate it is the last phase where now we're really paying attention to how do I build a world-class culture where people want to come, they love being here, they love working together. Now we're looking at operations. We're not just haphazardly throwing stuff over. We're going to define operations about how we communicate internally. We're going to define the operations around how we keep track of our project. Like we're going to dial this thing in so that it's a smooth scaling business thing freaking runs like clockwork.
I want to just emphasize, you use the word document, I think 3 times there, and I really appreciate the fact that you bring that up, because systems are often created without any clarity of documentation so that it can't easily be handed off to the next person to reinforce or to repeat. So I'm not going to give you a chance to respond to that because I think we're out of time, and I want to make sure that people know where they can go deeper on all of these topics. And so what resource do you have available for them so that they can learn more about what you're doing with the entire smooth scaling concept?
Yeah, so the easiest thing to do is go to smoothscaling.co. So smoothscaling.co, not .com, but .co. It's a page where you can sign up for the Smooth Scaling newsletter. And if we want, I've mentioned some other stuff. Let's do this. If you want, go to smoothscaling.co/MPM. M is in Mary, P is in Paul, M. That would be an appropriate acronym based on this podcast. Yes.
That would.
So go to that one. And if you fill out the form on that page, it's going to look almost identical to the main page. But if you fill out that form, then any of the stuff that I mentioned, like there's some videos where I would go deeper on some of the topics we talked about, then I'll make sure that the first email you get is like, yo, here are the things that I talked about. So if you had any of those, go check them out.
I love the fact that you're customizing it. I hope that's a scalable thing, and probably it is, because you probably now have assigned that task to somebody on your team to make sure.
Well, I mean, I'm going to get off this call first, but then we'll go assign that to somebody on the team.
I love it. Brad Martineau, this has been great. I love the structure. I love the insight, and I love the enthusiasm with which you sort of share all of this today. So thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. This was a blast.
Indeed. Folks, you've been listening to More Perfect Marketing. If you know somebody who could benefit from listening to the episode you just heard, and I'm pretty sure you do, please please send them our way. Till next time, I'm David Baer. Take care.